This episode of Selling with Social is brought to you by the 10th Annual AAISP Leadership Summit, where the sales community comes together to learn, share, and network. Join Vengresso and your sales peers April 3rd through the 5th, 2018 in Chicago by visiting bit.ly/AAISP2018 and use the code LEADERSHIP1095 at registration. And now to Selling with Social.
From that survey, we were really able to determine how successful the tool really is. We were able to bring in approximately 1,000 new prospects, 72 new opportunities, and 13 closed deals. So in crunching the numbers, it was, I believe, a return of investment of like 16 times.
Hey y'all, welcome to Selling with Social, the podcast that helps marketers increase marketing qualified leads, sales reps to shatter sales results, and sales leaders to grow as leaders. Each show, we interview sales, marketing, and social media practitioners, leaders, and influencers to help you connect, close more deals, build stronger relationships with clients, and improve your sales productivity. I'm Mario Martinez Jr. You're now listening to Selling with Social. Linda Dibias.
Mario.
I'm so excited to be here with you on this episode of Selling with Social. Thank you, my friend, for joining me on today's podcast.
Well, thank you, Mario, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, ladies and gentlemen, those of you that are listening in right now, I couldn't be more excited. We actually have Linda. Linda actually is the manager of content and social media marketing with Verizon Enterprise Solutions. And Linda, if I'm not mistaken, you are also one of the important individuals that have been behind Verizon Enterprise social selling program. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, I've been involved with the Verizon social selling program probably for the past year and a half here.
So I feel like I've got a resident expert, somebody that I can learn something from, and I'm excited that all of our listeners will be able to listen in. But before we get started, I've got two things for you. Number one, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your history. I know you've been with Verizon for a little while, but anything else that people should know about you?
Yeah, so I have been with Verizon for quite a while. I started really in sales. So I was in the field for many years, working for our New York Metro sales organization, managing our healthcare vertical. From there, I came over to headquarters doing, a multitude of different jobs, from operations to communications to marketing, and most recently in social media marketing. But as far as, things that people might not know about me or things outside of the company, I'm the mother of 3 kids that keep me very, very busy. And I also own my own business. So I am a jewelry designer in my spare time. So I own a very small business and I design and sell jewelry.
That's exciting. I did not expect that one coming. I did not know that. So where do we go to get this wonderful jewelry from Linda Dibias?
Yes, so I do have an Etsy site, and I do showcase some of my jewelry locally in some of the local boutiques in New Jersey.
Very cool. Well, we'll make sure that we get the link for your jewelry site and we'll add it to the show notes of our podcast. That is super cool. Did not know that about you. But what I really love most about you, if I can say it, we've got sales leaders, we've got marketers, entrepreneurs. And what I love about your background is that while you are over currently social media marketing and content for Verizon, you actually sat in the seat. You were a quota carrying rep. You carried a bag. You fed your family's insurance, healthcare, and everything else was dependent upon you hitting a quota. And that's where you originally started out at for quite some time. And so I just feel like this conversation is going to be super valuable to our listeners, talking about social, the benefits of social, and how to launch a program. And it's coming from somebody who literally sat in our seat, quite frankly. For those of you listening in, we've got the gal who's been on both sales, marketing, and social media marketing, right? Content and social media marketing. Yes. That's what makes you unique.
That is correct. Although it has been a number of years since I've been in sales. So I've probably been out of sales about 8 years. But I do remember like early on going to Hoover's and we were just launching Salesforce.com. And I really wished that we had a social selling solution like LinkedIn Sales Navigator.
Yeah, didn't we all when I started out this is my 21st year, and boy, things would have been a lot different if we had some of these tools 20 years ago.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Mario.
Oh, I think we would have had a lot of more success for myself personally. But listen, do me a favor. Tell us a little bit about the social selling program within Verizon Enterprise, and why did you guys go about launching one?
Yeah, so really good question. So we really wanted to provide our sales teams with an easy way, for them to find prospects and to really build a trusted relationship. So we implemented, did some research and we implemented LinkedIn Sales Navigator because it really taps into the power of LinkedIn, which most of our sales reps are currently using and most of our customers and contacts are using. So it really reinforces the daily habit of going to LinkedIn, and it allows them to target the most relevant contacts and accounts fast and really easily. And then the one nice thing about Sales Navigator, it really tracks the customer and account changes so that they get daily newsworthy events. So anything that happens within their accounts, whether there is a job change or a promotion or someone retires, they're instantly notified about these changes. So it really allows them to reach out and engage with their prospects. And there's, various means that they can do that as well through the InMail solution, the InMail tool, and also with the TeamLink solution.
Yeah. And in your organization, TeamLink is a super valuable tool because you've got so many people that are part of your Sales Navigator instance, and frankly, that are connected via LinkedIn off of Verizon. So, I think that particular tool, the larger you get in an organization, the more valuable TeamLink becomes. And the other thing too, I think as well, is as I heard you talk through, you mentioned a lot about prospecting, but is it safe to assume that within your division of Verizon Enterprise that there are the maybe folks that are calling on the larger accounts, maybe the global accounts, or that are more of the account managers that are designed to go deep and wide? Or is it all focused in on prospecting net new growth from a sales perspective?
Yeah, it's most of the large enterprise accounts. So most of them have established accounts within a particular vertical. So it really allows them to get to know their accounts better and their prospects within the account, so they can really do some deep research.
Yeah. And, it's interesting because oftentimes when we talk to leaders, many leaders think that it's just used for net new business or net new growth, net new connections, right? But the reality is social engagement plays a powerful role in landing or the expansion part after you've landed an account. And I think you guys are living that, right? So it's not just, hey, who's the person I should be calling on? It's who else in the sphere of influence of decision-making should I be engaged with, should I be working with, should I know, how do I utilize the tool to be able to map out key account strategies, whether it be account-based selling, whether it be strategies to expand relationships. Maybe you're trying to go up a couple levels, maybe you're trying to go down or wide a few different levels, or maybe you're trying to expand into different business units. Are those some of the ways that your folks are utilizing the app?
Yeah, absolutely. So they definitely want to expand within their accounts to different business units, different divisions within an account. But then there are, certain sectors within Verizon Enterprise Solutions where they are looking to grow their accounts within a particular vertical. So it allows them to really seek new account opportunities as well as exploring existing accounts and going deeper and wider.
Gotcha. Now, oftentimes when customers are looking at launching a social selling training program, there's really two choices. They can go at it alone, or they can bring in help, someone like Vengresso to help them with the launch of the program, putting together the whole program, training, coaching, reinforcement, those types of things. And I, as you know, my background, I actually launched a program and I did it on my own. And I took all those things that I implemented and then created my own company and started providing that as a solution portfolio to different organizations. Now, you guys, Verizon, have launched a training program or strategy. You have a strategy in terms of how you've launched both a training and a coaching and reinforcement program. Can you talk a little bit about what the strategy was for the launch in way of helping reps get up to speed and utilizing social, not just LinkedIn, but social to be able to be engaged with their buyers?
Yeah, certainly. So we actually started specifically with LinkedIn Sales Navigator as a pilot program in the fall of 2016. So we started with about 150 sales reps. And after 3 months, the feedback was really tremendous. And the ROI allowed us to really implement the program to a third of our sales organization. So in January of 2017, that's when we really launched the program. So, we put together training programs to launch within our sales organization. And then what we've done is we've set up follow-up quarterly training sessions to provide advanced features and functionality, highlighting, specific topics to really help them to be successful with this social selling tool. So focused on things like how to increase your social selling index, how to use social media effectively, crafting effective in-mails, and just, overall best practices. And then most recently, we've implemented monthly office hours. So if they have a question, whether it's on the social selling tool or if it's just social media in general, they can call in and ask specific questions. In addition to that, we do put out a monthly social selling newsletter that highlights, key topics, tip of the month, and we also have a leaderboard which showcases our top performers. So those are some of the things that we've done to ensure that the Sales Navigator program is successful within our sales organization.
So if I were to net this out and do 4 words, it would be training, coaching, communication, i.e. your newsletters, and gamification, leaderboard.
Correct.
Those are kind of like the 4 major components of your program.
Yep, absolutely.
Hallelujah. That's the program that we implement. So it's interesting, though, that you went down this process or this path to roll a program out. And oftentimes organizations are trying to figure out, like, how do I do it and what do I do? And I'm going to ask a question that I don't really know the answer to, because this is actually something that you and I didn't discuss. But one of the things that we run into all the time is LinkedIn's customer success organization is a great training program and a great training organization. And companies ask us all the time, well, LinkedIn says they're going to train us. LinkedIn's going to provide, 5 hours, 10 hours, whatever many hours of training to train my salespeople. And when I was in the seat, clearly that was not enough, right? I mean, like, we had to go well beyond, over and above, and we had to have the people in place to be able to help support this and to put training programs and messaging guidebooks and playbooks and profile development for our sales reps. So my question to you, Linda, is, was LinkedIn's training program enough, or have you had to go well beyond that and actually take on a lot of the burden of training and coaching and development for your sales folks to get the skill set right?
Yeah, well, it's kind of twofold. I mean, LinkedIn's support has been really, really awesome. So we have a dedicated support person that we work with on developing training programs, and we work hand in hand in really crafting what that training course will be every single quarter. But in addition to that, I also manage our social media employee advocacy program, as well as our VEZ branded channels. So it's really important that I'm training our sales organization on how to do social media effectively and how to use our employee advocacy program to its fullest benefit.
Yeah, good point. So you were definitely augmenting what you've got, and you're doing it the Verizon way, if you would, right? By the way, for those that don't know, Verizon Enterprise Solutions is what you mean by VEZ, right?
Correct. Yeah. We're very acronym heavy in this company, so I apologize for that.
Well, listen, before I go in, one of the questions I want to talk to you about is what leaders ask me all the time about tracking results. And I have an opinion about tracking results and revenue. But before I go into having you ask that question, we're going to take a short break and listen to this message from our program sponsor. I'm super excited to share that Vengresso will be joining the AAISP and hundreds of sales leaders in Chicago for the 10th annual AAISP Leadership Summit, April 3rd through the 5th, 2018. In fact, I personally will be presenting, and I want to invite you to join me. The Leadership Summit brings together sales leaders from around the globe for a learning experience unlike any other. Attendees will find workshops, group learning, a technology expo packed full of today's leading solution and service providers, and of course, the infamous annual Inside Sales Award Gala. To receive your deeply discounted rate, visit bit.ly/AAISP bit.ly/AAISP2018. That's bit.ly/AAISP2018. And use the code leadership1095 at registration for an amazing Vengresso only discount. Okay, so before the break, I said I wanted to talk to you about revenue results and how to track some of the success that you guys had. You started out with the pilot, you had some success, you rolled it out to a third of your sales team. And leaders ask me all the time, well, with your training program, with your branding program, with your content development, your employee advocacy program, any of those types of things, like what is the ROI? What should we expect from that? And honestly, the answer to that question is I can't tell you, because what I can't determine is what happens when a salesperson picks up the phone and says hello. Right? Beyond the hello, I can't control that. That's a whole different other sales training program. But really what we need to be focused at is how many more conversations did we create? Or how many more times did leveraging social or social engagement help me get to an appointment that I otherwise did not get to through traditional methodologies? So I'm curious to see about your guys' pilot program. Well, you launched it with a small segment of individuals. You said you had success. How did you determine success, Linda?
Yeah, and that's a really good question, because that's really what it all comes down to is how do we prove out the success of this program? So a couple things. We do track any lead that's coming in through Sales Navigator in our Salesforce.com. Additionally, we do provide a mid-year survey to our sales rep to gauge the success of the program. And from that survey, we were really able to determine how successful the tool really is. We were able to bring in approximately 1,000 new prospects, 72 new opportunities, and 13 closed deals. So in crunching the numbers, it was, I believe, a return of investment of like 16 times. So it really proved out to be very, very successful. And, we do plan to run another survey. Probably we're just about 6 months into it. So we'll be surveying our sales organization again to, really update the results.
Wow, fantastic. And what about a field salesperson? Are they able to leverage their own individual CRM to tag an opportunity or to tag a closed won opportunity or closed lost that said, hey, I utilized, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, or I utilized whatever the tool might have been to be able to help attribute dollars to tool? Is that something that you guys are tracking currently inside the CRM?
Yeah, we are. And, all the feedback that we've gotten from the sales reps is it really is a game changer. I mean, they go in, they start their day in Sales Navigator. They do not contact an account or a prospect without first doing their research in the tool. So, it's really allowed them to make inroads into accounts that they were not able to get into before, and to set up appointments and really to kind of, advance the sales within their accounts.
That's a fine testimony to LinkedIn for sure. But also too, I kind of look at this from my perspective. And when leaders talk to me about, the ROI, I almost look at it and say, look, guys or gals, what is the opportunity cost of not having the capability and the data in front of you? And that almost in and of itself is the opportunity loss that you will have, as opposed to focusing so much on the return on investment, like how many actual prospects came into the funnel. It's like you almost can't do business today without it. That's the way I look at it from my perspective. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think those are points really, really well made. So I couldn't agree more.
What about your leadership buy-in to launch the program? You obviously needed to have a program that in the pilot phase showed early results that justified the fairly large expense of LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which I think is well worth it. I know it's well worth it. What about your leadership buy-in? What did you need from them to help launch a program and now sustain the program?
Yeah, and I think the general feedback from sales obviously was good, but also the results of the survey really allowed us to move ahead and continue the program. The fact that we were able to contribute, so many new prospects and really build out the funnel with the new opportunities and the closed deals and, just the overall return on investment allowed us to move forward. And we were able to expand the program out to probably close to half of our sales force as a result of those initial survey results.
Fantastic. And leaders, from a budget standpoint, this is obviously impacts the sales budget. I don't, unless marketing, of course, is paying for the dollars and cents. But leaders are obviously able to hear directly from their sales organization and see the survey results and see that, man, this is a tool that, quite frankly, they just can't live without. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, totally agree with you. We are very lean here at Verizon. We're really trying to cut our costs and really, close the gap in minimizing our expenses. So we only have about half of our sales organization that has a LinkedIn Sales Navigator license. And because of that, we really do have a strict use it or lose it policy. So one of the things that we've instrumented with our sales organization is you really need to use this license. The requirements are they have to have a social selling index score of 50 or higher. They have to be in the tool a minimum of 5 times per month. And what we do is we run monthly reports. And if we see people that are falling below those requirements, we will reach out to them and, give them a little nudge to kind of pick it up a little bit. And if we see that after, several months, they're still not utilizing the tool, we will remove the license and give it to someone else within the organization that's waiting for a seat.
That's a phenomenal best practice. So you are doing exactly what I did, except I was a bit less lenient than you. They had to at least be inside the tool 10 times per month, right? So about half of the business selling days, imagine 22 business selling days in a month, you had to be in there at least half the amount of time, right? 10 times throughout the month. And if you weren't, well, and by the way, you can now track this. The administration tool tells you whether or not they're logging into the mobile device, or it includes mobile access and includes the desktop. It also gives data within LinkedIn themselves. And if you're not in there at least half time, which is essentially at least researching,
right.
prior to picking up the phone, I think there's a problem. And it might be that you are either on sabbatical or that you are not doing the proper research it requires before you engage with a particular buyer. And that could be a big loss. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I am a little bit of a pushover when it comes to that. So I did give them a little bit of slack. But the ones that are really successful are the ones that are in there like 15 times, 17 times, 18 times a month. And, the ones that aren't, you can see from their SSI scores. So if they want to be successful, they're going to use the tool and use it effectively.
Yeah, good. And have you been able to see a direct correlation between a higher SSI to a higher sales performance?
You know what? I haven't gotten that granular because I don't really manage that aspect of it. But, that's a good point that the sales manager should really take a good look at.
Yeah,
so
good.
Definitely things to look for.
As your program evolves, that will probably be, something that as a data point that you would want to incorporate into your reporting, which is, higher usage of the tool equals better performance from a sales perspective. And we just launched a 5-series podcast and a massive campaign with SAP all about their social selling program. And that's definitely what we're seeing, right? Or what they're seeing in terms of correlation. So I was curious to see that, but we'll have you on the next podcast. We'll have you talking about some of those individual performance criteria as well. I do want to go into this last point. This is what we call pillar number 4 of the digital sales program. And that is what we call feeding your network or nurturing your network. And not every new connection results in a actual meeting. And a great example of that is you and I. We connected. I had a mission, and that was to learn more about your social selling program. But let me ask you a question. When you connect with somebody who reaches out to connect with you, does that result in a meeting every single time?
Yeah, hopefully it does, but probably not every time.
Exactly. So what we see is that there is a huge need to make sure that you feed your network or nurture your network with valuable content. And you mentioned earlier employee advocacy and how you're utilizing employee advocacy to actually drive content into someone's network. So talk a little bit about content sharing and how important is that for a seller, not just to use LinkedIn Sales Navigator, but actually to be engaged with content sharing within their network. Why is that important for a seller?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, to speak to it, how it relates to Sales Navigator. one of the aspects of the SSI score is being active on social. So it makes up 25% of their score. And it's really important that they're sharing relevant content with their prospects and followers. So we want to make sure that they're engaging with their contacts on social media. And really the key to building trust with a prospect as they engage and have more intelligent conversations with their potential clients and share, thought-provoking ideas and content, the more that they're going to be perceived as thought leaders. And this hopefully will establish some credibility and get them to the next step of getting that client meeting. But it really is crucial that we have good content. And as I mentioned, one of my other areas of responsibility is managing our Verizon Enterprise Solutions, LinkedIn, and VZ Enterprise Twitter handles. So what I do is I work with our internal stakeholders to create compelling content centered around, our big tier 1 events, our solution towers like our advanced communications, connectivity, security, IoT, and mobility. And we develop thought leadership blogs, and we make sure that we're pulling in curated content that really speaks to our technology and future trending topics. So we need to put content that will make our prospects and our customers stop scrolling and click because they find it, compelling enough to engage with and hopefully share with their friends and followers. So, on top of that, with the employee advocacy program that we launched in early 27, this is another means where our employees can search out and find content that really, is of interest to them that they can share on their personal social channels. So, we provide them with the tools, both with the content that we promote on our branded channel, and then also within the advocacy program that they can go in and really find content that speaks to them.
Yeah. And with this content, the whole idea, I like to illustrate it as, when we go and we teach sales reps how to fish, and that is, through social, through digital, could be video, could be texting, could be social networks like LinkedIn as an example. But you also have to give them the bait. And that bait is the content, right? So not only do you teach them how to fish, but you have to teach them how to bait their hook, and you have to give them the bait. And this content now can be utilized not just with pushing and sharing content out to your network, but quite frankly, if you're doing it right, you'll look at this content and say, oh, this piece might be good for James Smith or Susie Q as a CIO, and it's relevant to whatever it is, the topic of discussion you may have had with them. So they're using that content to add value back to their buyers in terms of providing content. Would you agree that that's also one to many and one to one is the way you want to use content?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you definitely want to share content that you think will resonate with your particular customer. And as I said before, you want to start engaging with that prospect, liking their content, adding interesting dialogue, engaging in the conversation so that you're building a trust and you're building yourself up as a thought leader. And then once you've established that credibility, reach out to them and say, I saw something that you posted on LinkedIn that really was very meaningful to me. Or I think that, I might be able to help you with that particular challenge that you're facing. Could I get a couple minutes with you, set up a meeting? And it's just another way to really spark those conversations with a prospect or, an established account.
Yeah. And one of the ways that I utilize is I'll publish something, and then in the comments, I'll actually tag Linda Dibias and say, Linda, this, per our conversation, I thought this might be of value to, or I read this, or you might find this of interest, whatever the case might be, so that you can actually see the content, engage, and oftentimes what I do is I'll ask a question. Hey, I noticed this part about, what do you think? Do you think this is something that's impacting whatever it might be, right? Or something relevant to the business to create some sort of engagement with the buyer?
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. And that's something you definitely want to do once you've established that relationship with your customer. So it's a way to continue to provide meaningful information to your existing accounts by tagging them. So certainly agree with that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think this has been a phenomenal conversation, and it really helps the sales leaders and marketing leaders as well to understand like what's my role inside of all of this. And so, to the question I have for you is what role does marketing have in ensuring sellers have the right type of content? Is that something that we as sellers should go fish for, or should we depend upon the marketing team to help us have content that's mapping to the buyer's journey?
Yeah, I think marketing definitely plays a tremendous part in that. So we want to provide content to our sales organizations that they can share with their customer through all the different, customer journey, through the awareness stage, consideration stage, purchase stage. And, we try to do that with our social media, with our reports, our infographics, through a whole multitude of different assets. So I do think it's up to our marketing organization, which I do play a role in providing that relevant content to our sales organizations for them to share with customers. So, sometimes the customer will self-discover that on their own, but it's also helpful for the salesperson to kind of help in that customer journey along the way.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. The woman of the hour who's not only been in sales, but also in social media marketing and content marketing, and helping to lead the path to help her sellers in her organization become more successful. Linda, that was a phenomenal podcast. I want to thank you. But before I let you go, I do have 2 questions for you. If someone wants to get a hold of you, ask about your program, do me a favor. Should they connect with you on LinkedIn? Should they email you? Are you on Twitter? Tell us where you're at.
No, I'm definitely on Twitter at Linda Dibias, and on LinkedIn. You can find me through LinkedIn or Twitter, either. And if anyone wants to contact me directly, they can contact me at linda.dibias@verizonwireless.com.
And Dibias is Dibias, and we'll include all those things into the show notes. And before I let you go, my favorite question of the whole entire podcast, your all-time favorite movie, what is it?
My all-time, that is a good question. Gosh, you know what? I am such a movie buff. I love movies. It's one of my favorite things to do in my spare time, but you're going to laugh. I probably, not that it's the most uplifting movie, but one of my favorite movies is Titanic, believe it or not. I just thought that was, the love story, the music, that was one of my favorites. The
intensity.
I have the dark, not the best ending, but yeah.
I love it. We haven't had Titanic on the show. So out of 60 some odd episodes, you're the first with Titanic. And I love it. That's a great movie. Every time I'm surfing and I see Titanic on, maybe I'm a sap, but I stop for it as well.
Yeah. So
fantastic.
Anyway.
Well, thank you for joining me on this episode of Selling with Social. And for those of you listening in, don't tune out. Listen to this next message right here.
Thank you, Mario. Appreciate your time.
Don't forget to join Vengresso and hundreds of sales leaders from around the globe April 3rd through the 5th, 2018 in Chicago for the 10th annual AAISP Leadership Summit. To receive your deeply discounted rate, visit bit.ly/AAISP 2018. That's bit.ly/AAISP 2018. And use the code LEADERSHIP1095 at registration for an amazing Vengresso-only discount. Thanks so much for joining me on that episode of Selling with Social. I hope you found as much value in that episode as I did. Here's what I want you to do next. Please go to www.vengresso.com. That's VENGRESO.com. VENGRESO.com. And make sure that you get access to our content. We've got the latest and greatest in digital sales, sales training, content marketing, and social selling strategies that are going to help you grow your sales pipeline. I look forward to having you on the next show of Selling with Social. Make sure you also go to vengresso.com/podcast to be able to get access to the latest and greatest Selling with Social episodes, along with any of the other episodes that we've got from Social Business Engines with my friend and partner, Bernie Borges. Thanks again for joining on Selling with Social.